conquering one, is the one that overcomes. This isn't some kind of Buddha, or not Buddha, Taoist conception of the Tao, of light and dark always being in play with each other and always existing simultaneously. That's not what this is. This is one is going to win. One is going to conquer the other. It just is going to have to take place in human history on God's timing, not ours. Jesus affirms this view. Let's turn to John 8:44. Somebody read that for us, please. John 8:44. It's hard to turn to. So here he's talking to the Pharisees. Keep in mind, scribes and Pharisees. Somebody read it. John 8:44. Mm-hmm. So we see here that Jesus is saying there are people who are sons of the devil. Now, not in the sense that Jesus is the Son of God, but in a spiritual sense. Like what Dennis alluded to, these kind of rival natures within us, right? Our fallen nature and our new spiritual nature given to us by Jesus. There's this war in our members. Matthew 23:33 through 35 is interesting too. Uh, 33 through 35. I'll read it. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. I think we brush over that pretty quickly. Yeah. But if you stop and think about that for a minute, there's no truth in that. There's nothing. Yeah. So he will use truth, but it's always in a deceptive way. Oh, yeah. It's always... So that's probably our first level of discernment, is start to understand anything coming from that realm is going to be deceptive. And it's not... Even if it contains pieces of truth, they're going to be warped, so it's deceptive. And it's not going to it's not going to accord with reality. So if somebody comes to you and says, "Don't believe your lying eyes," don't believe that, for instance, that a man is born a man or a woman is born a woman, but instead are in flux and can be exchanged one for the other. Well, obviously that's from Satan. That's a satanic lie because it doesn't accord with reality. The truth is not in him. Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you. So Matthew 23:33 through 35 says, "You serpents, you brood of vipers, how are you to escape being sentenced to hell? Therefore I send you prophets and wise men and scribes, some of whom you will kill and crucify, and some you will flog in your synagogues and persecute from town to town, so that on you may come all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar." So this kind of is a good segue into talking about Cain and Abel. Satan has, from the get-go, I do believe this, and we kind of see signs of this later too, and we'll get into it in this class. Satan was terrified by this prophecy of the seed. And he, since then, has been doing everything in his power to corrupt it, to corrupt this promise. I think that's why he strove so hard before the flood to corrupt mankind.
he was doing everything in his power, both spiritual, physical, everything, to corrupt this seed. Because if he could pervert the seed of the woman, Eve, then the promise would be of no effect. Keep that in mind. If Satan can corrupt the seed in you, planted in you, the spiritual, I'm speaking spiritually now, then he'll have a victory, have no effect. So, let's turn to,
Andrew,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So to bolster your point in Revelation 12, this is where,
Yeah.
in my belief, when Christ died and rose from the dead, he defeated him,
Mm-hmm.
and so he was thrown out. He can no longer come to God and accuse us
Yeah.
because the sins have been
Yeah.
paid for. So then he realizes that his time is short, and it says he's going to battle us. He's angry,
Mm-hmm.
and his whole focus is to take us out.
To consume and devour, just like Paul says with the roaring lion. You know, it's just that. You know, that's our battle. So let's turn to Genesis 4. Let's get into. We already talked about how they were cast out of the garden. There was a cherubim set on the east side of the garden to prevent their reentry and any descendants. And I'll go ahead and read. We're going to be in 4. We're probably not going to get to 16, verse 16, but I'm going to go ahead and read 1 through 16. Now Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. In the course of time, so pay attention to these little phrases. In the course of time means it must have happened quite a bit later. So, in the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry, and why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. Cain spoke to Abel his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me today away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. Then the Lord said to him, Not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest any who found him should attack him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Again, that east. We see it's almost like in stages here. Humanity, and representative of Cain, is now being driven further east. The further east they move away from the garden, the worse things get. This concept of being driven out into the east, fleeing into the east, is again reinforced. But we see here the two seeds personified. We see the two seeds in literal manifestation of human beings. We have Abel. So this is what's interesting. Contrary to what Eve assumes about her firstborn, Cain is not actually the righteous seed. Because she says, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And I do believe, if you look into the Hebrew and stuff, I do believe this is a callback to what, remember, there's no chapter headings here, in the original text. Like, this is all one narrative, okay? So one long narrative. I do believe this is a callback to God's prophecy to her bearing an offspring that would overcome the curse. And I think she would have been aware of this. And I think that's why the narrative stops and actually says that Eve said something about Cain. Because she doesn't say anything about Abel. But then she says something about Seth later. But we're not going to get there. But anyways, but Cain is not actually the one who is the offspring of righteousness. Abel is. But how do we know this? How do we know that Abel is the offspring of righteousness and Cain is the offspring of the devil? Spiritually speaking. I'm not saying physically. I mean spiritually so. It's actually not a complicated answer. How do we know? Yeah. One was obedient and one wasn't. That really is, if you really actually take it, I'll get you in a second. If you actually really take it in its simplest form, that's how you know who is an offspring of the Lord and who's an offspring of the devil. Is, are they obedient? Those who are obedient to God, or those who are the offspring of God, will be obedient to God. Those who are the offspring of the devil, just like the Pharisees, will not. It's really as simple as that. Yeah, Jared. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Make the right decision. In fact, God wanted him to make the right decision because he knew kind of already knew what was happening, right? Already in his heart and where it was headed. And so he kind of gave him the heads up of you're going to have to make a decision and you better make the right one. And so every one of us is put with that situation in this day. Absolutely. To make the decision to be obedient and obey the gospel. That's great. And we have so lest anyone say, yeah, but Cain actually was spoken to by God. So are we. More so even than Cain. Oh, no. No, he knew. Just because, yeah. No, the implication is clear. Yeah, the implication is clear there that Cain knew what he was supposed to do and didn't do it. It's not that, oh, God hates vegetable sacrifices or whatever. That wasn't the point of this. And the Jews would have understood this, that God had given a prescription for him to do, and he chose not to. That's the implication here. It's not that we don't know what that may have looked like. Maybe God had told him, hey, this field over here is beautiful and is I want that as a sacrifice. Maybe it wasn't even the fact that a grain offering wasn't, we don't know. Or he could have told him, hey, you need to exchange this for a lamb from your brother and offer that. We don't know what the conditions were, but it's irrelevant. He broke those conditions, whatever they were. Yeah.
I think, too, there might be an alternative to that, because that's an implied.
Yeah, it's implied.
But we know there were grain sacrifices.
We know there were.
Sacrifices
that
weren't animal. I've
we don't
wondered,
know.
might it have been the sacrifice was okay, but his heart behind the sacrifice wasn't pleasing, because we see that later with the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
That it's an unpleasant aroma. They're technically doing the sacrifice right, but the heart behind the sacrifice is broken. And I've often wondered if maybe that was the distinction.
Yeah, maybe.
Heart that was bringing that sacrifice, and God said, I can smell your sacrifice. Later on, obedience is more important than sacrifice too.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Problem, right?
Yeah, it's a hard problem either way.
That was very similar to what I was saying, in that Cain obviously had a relationship with God. God spoke directly to him. There's time, and you pointed it out rightly, that look in time. And so there was something there and there was the heart of it. And you even pulled out in Matthew and in the other passage in the New Testament where it's Jesus saying he brooded vipers. I think this is the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
The entirely same thing.
Yep.
As it relates to where they were, and even Satan had moved their hearts away from God, all the way through to the law.
Absolutely. Dennis, do you have something else?
Yeah, so I think later we learned in Hebrews that the reason for this whole thing is because
Yeah.
faith. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. Go ahead. Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have faith.
He didn't have faith. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't have the faith in the operation of God. He wanted to approach God on his terms. And what does that sound like? Like us today, and just like his parents in the garden. He sinned in their similitude, as it says in the King James. Each one of us, when we choose our own path, when we choose our own way and ignore God's way, we are sinning in the similitude of Adam and Eve. Every single time. I do it. I fall daily.
Conversation with someone about baptism, and they'll tell you all the things, the reason why you don't need to be baptized.
Yeah.
Like, it's there,
Yeah.
and the water does nothing to you. It can be the dirtiest water in the world, but it's the faith and operation of God that saves you.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Because we want, especially, I feel like this has always been true throughout human history, but I feel like our culture, our highly commercialized, highly individualized culture, really struggles with this. Make it. What was Burger King's motto for a long time was "Have it your way." It's like that is very prevalent in the wider church in America. Not everywhere, not everybody. But if we struggle with anything, we struggle with that. Have it your way. Now, Burger King's motto is, "You're the king," which is interesting. Have it your own way, and then it evolves into, "You're the king." Wow, that's almost like a stand-in for our cultural zeitgeist. Yeah, Sophie?
I was going to say the most sombering part of this story to me has always been the king was still offering sacrifices.
Yeah.
When we think of the seed of Satan, you're going to think of somebody who's actively working against God in an obvious way and butting heads with the righteous, but he was still, even though he knew it wasn't right, whether it was in his heart, whether it was in his physical action, he was still offering sacrifices alongside his brother who was
Yep.
righteous, and he was trying to get away with doing it his own way.
Yep.
And I think that's the most sombering thing is we think of the seed of Satan as somebody that's like, oh, yeah, it's the guy with the tattoos, it's the guy with the piercings, it's the guy with this, and like he looks this way, he's obvious, and he's in the occult. And no, it's actually, it can just be your heart, and you can be sitting here with us, still trying to do the outward motion, still trying to do all of that.
Oof, ouch.
But doing it your own way,
Yeah.
and in your heart, you're turning to God, and that to me is like the most sombering thing, because that's not just anybody, that can be me.
Yeah.
And so I have to be really careful when I read this story, and I'm like, tis, and it's like, no, that's actually really sombering, because it can be anywhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, going back to this seed. 1 John 3, 8 through 12. 1 John 3, 8 through 12. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. No one born of God makes a practice of sinning, for God's seed abides in him, and he cannot keep on sinning because he has been born of God. By this it is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother. So again, how relevant is that to the Cain and Abel discussion? It was 1 John 3, 8 through 12. Did Cain love his brother? No. He was envious of him. Abel did nothing wrong against his brother. He was righteous before God, it says. And Cain grew envious of that and slew him for it. I mean, that is exactly what John here is talking about. And again, we see in James where he warns the church to stop fighting and consuming one another. How often does the seed of Cain pop up in our lives? How often? We must be like Abel. and offer righteous, pleasing, obedient sacrifice to God, righteous works to God, in humility and meekness, and not be like Cain, who was desirous of his brother's gain and was envious, covetous, and slew him. I think we're pretty much finished, but we only got a couple minutes. But I wanted to also turn to 1 Peter 1, 1 Peter 1:23. It says, "Since you have been born again, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and abiding word of God. And I'll just read the next verse. For all flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower fails, but the word of the Lord remains forever. And this word is the good news that was preached to you." The good news. The evangelium. The good news, the gospel. That is the seed that's planted in us. If we continue in that seed and bear fruit, then our reward will be great, it says in the Bible. But if we do not, then we are castaways. And I think this is a very serious thing, especially as the great days grow evil around us, is that we remember whose seed we are, and to not be carried along by what the seeds that are planted in our culture and in the world tell us to do. Because otherwise, we're going to end up like Cain and his forebear or his descendants. All right, thank you for your attention, and thank you for your comments, engagement. Next week we'll dig in a little bit more, and then start seeing what happens after Cain and Abel.
I'm aware of the passage in Romans 15 verse 20 that relates to your 3:15.